Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. I'm going to do your August the 4th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope you're doing well this morning. Let's go ahead and get into that meditation. The title of the meditation for today, An Open-Mindedness in Spirituality. A new ideal cannot be grafted onto a closed mind. That comes from the basic text, chapter 9, Just for Today, Living the Program. Approaching step 2 with an open mind was a real challenge for me, a member shared. The concept that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity presents a real dilemma for some of us. Thankfully, a thorough first step pried my mind open enough to convince me that my way wasn't working. The member continued. That surrender set me up for step 2. And I came to believe that maybe this innate thing would work for me. Each of us grapples with the meaning of spiritual, not religious, within the context of our own worldview. The basic text promises that there aren't any catches to the proposal that we find a higher power of our own understanding, and our experience bears that out. Some of us come with deeply held convictions based in a religious tradition. Others have a secular or have secular beliefs that we may be equally committed to. No matter what our view or experience is prior to NA, we find that an open mind is an important asset, allowing us to consider ideals that are new to us. In recovery, that did not just happen. In recovery, we find that being open to spiritual concepts enriches our own beliefs. We're not being asked to swallow novel ideals whole, as we may have feared, or to replace a current belief system with some prepackaged dogma. Rather, open-mindedness allows us to learn from others' experiences, taking what feels right for us and leaving the rest. It's a graft, not a transplant. Instead of closing our minds to new ideals, an open mind frees us to try them out. If the graft takes, it may enhance our previously held beliefs. If not, it might still clarify our own ideals. In either case, growth results from keeping our minds open. I will remember the benefits of a more flexible and open approach to new ideals, even those about the spiritual aspects of recovery. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. So we're talking about open-mindedness and spirituality. And the concept of being able to graft a new ideal onto an open mind rather than a closed mind, because that's not possible. So what opens us to this spiritual experience? Is it that other people have gone before us and they are showing us that they came in one way, very rigid, closed-minded, and here all these years later, they're very open-minded, enough to the point where the fact that they have a God of their own understanding, a definition of what spirituality is for themselves, and it shows, and it is an attraction to us, right? But not only that, that because they have benefited from the spiritual, not religious opportunity without having to be judged, hopefully, for it. I'm assuming they haven't been. That they're now able to allow others to do the same. Who would have thought that would ever have worked in a world where there's so much religious dogma? Take all of the major religions of the world, or none of them at all, and have they worked? Being dogmatic? For those that, prescribe to them, probably. But what about the rest of us? I would never go to, say, India and expect that my religion would be top notch, number one over in India, and everyone prescribes to it. That's not realistic in India. It's barely realistic here in America. So why would I expect that it would be prescribed to by all or the majority in another country? See, because when you're talking about each of us grapples with the meaning of spiritual, not religious, within the context of our own worldview, that comes from somewhere. That comes from a lived experience. And from the lived experience, it almost without exception has to embrace one's own culture and subcultures. So for Narcotics Anonymous to be successful and deal with what we're dealing with, we're talking about the disease of addiction. That's why we can say we're not interested in age, sex, creed, religion, politics. We can't have an opinion on those things. Okay, there's certain groups that are set up based on gender. Absolutely. But if there were not, Narcotics Anonymous would still need to be effective because we're not trying to divide based on gender. We're not trying to divide based on sex, nor culture, ethnicity. That's why I should be able to go way up north where there's very few people that talk like me or look like me and make a meeting. And in my mind, I might feel endangered, but in actuality, I should be able to attend that meeting just because I'm a member. And what those members think about me walking in the building, that's not my problem, nor should they make it my problem. Now, you'll get some people that are idiots and make it your problem, right? You might experience that, but by far the majority are not going to. You know why? Because they benefited from inclusivity. It's the same thing here when we talk about spirituality. And many people never approach it. They go the secular route because of one reason or another, but many people never approach it because they don't want to deal with the resentments that they have about religion, the organization of religiosity. They don't want to deal with that. And all I have to say to that is, I'm not going all the way. I'm not coming this far to just stop because something from my past is saying, you don't really want to deal with this pain. This has caused you so much pain. You don't even want to, nah, don't go there. There's some religions that have a history of abuse of women, of children, They have a history. So now what happens when those people that come from those religious backgrounds start to use drugs, they get clean, they come into recovery? Is it possible that they will never have to deal with that past stuff in the process of their own recovery? Because when you get to this talking about, you know, coming to believe, and then you're going into the third step, making a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand them. How far are you going to go if you don't address it? It's serious. And I love the fact that we're just talking about a graft and not a transplant. For some people, it is a transplant. Feels like one. But what it's saying is that this ideal of spirituality, the majority of the world has a awareness of it. When they look up on a clear night and they see the sky full of stars and they see a moon, there's some awareness that there's something beyond just themselves, just in the act. I'm not trying to be philosophical, just in the act of looking up. Or let's look down. I could hear someone saying, what if I don't want to look up? Okay, well, let's look down. Go into a field of dirt. You have grass, but look down. And when you look down deeply. And if you're anything like me, I get wigged out when I see all these ant hills, right? I'm looking at these little tiny ants. They're not minding my business. I'm minding their business. And they are busy coming and going, coming and going. Occasionally, you'll even see one carrying the dead body of another one. I don't know if they plan to eat it. I have no idea what's going on, right? Maybe it's a funeral service. I have no idea what's going on with that. But when I look at their process, less known research it on the internet. When I look at their process, the process of an ant, I'm mesmerized by it. I'm mesmerized. And I wonder how, when, and where did that insect become important? What purpose does it serve? And I say to myself, that's something I will never understand. And it seems to be beyond my control, greater than, obviously I can step on it. So I'm the larger being, right? But it has a whole world all of its own. And I didn't create it. I didn't have anything to do with it. But it's there. So I don't have to look far, and you probably don't have to look far either to say, there's something about this spirit thing that definitely when I'm looking up at the moon and the stars, or I'm looking down at ants, the first thing that comes to my mind is not religion, not at all, because there's a level of freedom in those things that I'm looking at that is greater than my humanity, in my opinion. And so I can take that and graft that into what I already know. Listen to me, because the resistance that you feel in that area is just an indication that you need to address it and figure out, have I come to believe that I could be restored to sanity? By a power greater than myself? A greater power? Or am I that power? And from there, you launch into your third step. It's a process. It's definitely a process. And one that I believe the majority of us have already pretty much taken the second step. When we do a first step and we actually can stay stopped, there is an awareness that you've been restored to sanity. There has to be, because you're no longer using. If I put some attitude on that statement, I meant to. And I hope it doesn't offend you, because you're no longer using. And at some point in time, if you stayed stopped, you came to believe something. And here we're talking about coming to believe that you could be restored to sanity. Yeah. Not using is a bit more sane than using, because now we have opportunity with a clear mind to start addressing some of the things that were catalysts into our picking up the drug. My name is Maddie Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose. I know I went all the way, right? I actually didn't. I went part of the way out of respect, because that's what I've been taught to do in Narcotics Anonymous. Now, what you do with it from this point should be just beautiful for you, right? It's up to you, but it should be beautiful, because it comes without this right to a God of our own understanding, the spiritual, not religious concept. It comes without any conditions. It comes without conditions. And that's what makes it feasible, possible for the majority, if not all. I'm going to have a great day. Already am. Hope you do the same on purpose. Talk to you tomorrow.